This meeting is being recorded.
Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome to Saturday night's training for Team Faith and Soul. I'm so excited that you are either with us for the live or if you are catching the replay on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for clicking play and hanging out with us. So tonight's going to be a little bit different. I think this is actually the first time this year that we have that we're going to speak a little bit about fundraising. Fundraising per se is fairly newer to me, although I have been a consultant for in October almost 3 years. I do fundraising in a little bit of different way, but here's the thing: when it comes to fundraising, there there's really no like there's not just one way of doing it. Basically, that's what I want to say. It's kind of like how when you approach your Scentsy business and when you first joined, there's not just one way of us being a consultant, right? So, even though I work my business one way, does not necessarily mean that you're going to work your business the same way. And just like I work mine full time, there are a lot of us on my team, for example, that either work it part time, full time, hobbyist, maybe they have their community of customers. You get the point. So there's not one path for us, and that's the beauty of being an independent consultant, right? Is that we get to choose what works for us. It's just the same as fundraising. I feel like that a lot of times whenever we join and we're consultants and we're very new, or even we're new to fundraising and we've been a consultant for a while, that the idea of fundraising, I feel like we may just cap it down to just one thing and one thing only. I feel like that if speaking like for me, for example, when I first thought about fundraising about 2 years ago, just the idea of it alone seemed very intimidating. It felt like that it was going to be a lot. It felt very overwhelming. I wasn't sure where to start or what to do. And I feel like that I was being very narrow minded and I wasn't looking at the bigger picture. So I ended up getting a little bit more creative when it came to fundraising. So before I go into my notes, because you guys know how much I love having bullet points and notes so I stay on track. First and foremost, let me go ahead and set my timer for 30 minutes because you guys know I like to chat. So let me stay. Okay, so we got that going. So the timer is set. So first and foremost, before I dive into my notes, I want to talk a little bit about how I fundraise. So let's just say that maybe the bigger scale of, fundraising through like a school, for example, or through a sports team, maybe that's just not your cup of tea right now. Maybe you want to start on a smaller level, smaller scale. That's kind of what I did because I wanted to dabble a little bit into fundraising, but I just wasn't sure if I was going to be mentally and physically ready to dive into a bigger scale fundraising. So, what are a couple of smaller ways that you can fundraise? So, for example, for those of you guys, some of y'all know, and if you don't, I do monthly send boxes. So one thing that I started doing the beginning of this year is, and I'm being more consistent with it now, is every month when I have my monthly boxes, I actually now tied in with a nonprofit organization. And what I do is I actually will give back 10% of every box sold to that nonprofit organization, which is really cool. And also, by the way, that is a tax write off. If you didn't already know that, it's a tax write off. And then I choose a different theme. So there's a different nonprofit for every month. And I let my customers know in their box basically where, because I do 10% of every box. So I let them know where that donation is going. So that is one way that you can fundraise. Super simple, right? The other way that I like to fundraise is there have been times where if I have a friend of mine that may be a customer or just a friend, I've approached them and I said, hey, like for example, I did have somebody that is currently on our team that I did a fundraiser for not too long ago. Her daughter was getting into dance and she was wanting to raise some funds because her daughter was going to be going on all of these competitions, and it gets expensive, right? Things add up. So I approached her and I said, hey, why don't we set up a personal shopping link for you? We can do a page if you like. You can share it and text the link out, the shopping link to your friends and family. Let's see if we can raise, some sales for her. And I said, I will donate a portion of my sales to you. So as a consultant, that is your personal decision as far as how much you want to donate. For me personally, I donate 25% of my commission For one, that is how much I do get paid at title, is 25%. So I do donate that. Also, one thing that's really good to keep in mind, depending upon what your goals are for the month, is because I always goal myself to earn that extra 5% commission. So if I'm earning that extra 5% commission in my paycheck for the next month, that is something I personally keep for myself. So then that way I'm able to, on the next paycheck, donate that amount to my host. Now, another way that you can do this, and this is actually what I did with her, is she actually ended up joining. Because remember, I said that just a second ago, she ended up joining as a consultant for a team. And what I ended up doing, which was so much more simpler than waiting for my paycheck to come around, is I actually flipped the party over to her. So then, therefore, it became her paycheck, which was a win-win. It was a win for me, and then it was a win for her. So that is another option of how you can also fundraise for somebody that is a customer of yours or a friend. Super simple. It's a win-win. Now, the important thing to keep in mind is one thing that I remember when I started dabbling into fundraising is that I was like, wait a minute, if I am donating set amount to this organization from a party, or if I'm flipping it over to them, that means that I'm losing the sales. Okay, correct. But hear me out. Here is the important part, is that you are gaining new customers. You are broadening your circle of people who you're networking with, right? And you're growing your customer base. So although you are either donating set amount of sales that you've raised, or if you're flipping that party over, you're gaining long-term customers, because our products are consumable. So that means that they are within time going to come back, because they're going to need to replace set items that they purchased. So that's another way that I've fundraised. So that's just a couple ideas for me personally that I've done. So if, let's just say that you've never fundraised before and you're like, I don't even know where to start. So the first thing to keep in mind that you want to start before you even dive into all the things is consider, what is something that you feel strongly about? What is a cause that you feel strongly about? What is, it could be maybe an awareness that we do for a month through the year. It could be someone personally that you know that's going through something. Maybe they're already fundraising for something that's going on with them, or maybe they have, like I said earlier, I had a friend, right, that had a daughter. They needed to raise funds for her dance competitions. Maybe you are a sports parent. Maybe you're a sports grandparent. Maybe you know somebody that's involved in sports and they, need funds, right? They all need funds. What's something that you feel strongly about? No matter what the case is, write it down. Maybe you're passionate about animal rescue, right? If you're passionate about animal rescue, that is for sure something that you can set up. You can coordinate with whatever organization, whatever company you decide to pair up with, and talk to them and let them know, hey, I'm a Scentsy consultant. I'd love to be able to give back and fundraise for you guys. And we're going to dive into that in just a little bit about how you take the steps necessary to get to that. But first and foremost, just brainstorm and just reflect on what is it that you're passionate about, because I guarantee you, whatever you're passionate about, there's something out there that you can raise funds for. Why fundraise, right? I said that earlier. Why fundraise? Generosity is a part of one of our Scentsy core values, if you didn't already know that. You get future customers. You get future host, current host. Hosts are really big, right, for a PRV for the month. And like you said, you heard me earlier, what I talked about when I flipped my person that hosted with me. She was my friend, but then she became my team member. So that you're gaining new team members, because if you can flip those sales, if you can flip that party that you're fundraising for, even better, right? Bigger bonus. One thing that's really good for us for fundraising is that it helps our team, it helps your team see who they are and know who all they can order Scentsy from. So in other words, it's like you're introducing yourself to new people and you're letting them know, like, hey, I'm a Scentsy consultant. If you need anything, I'm here for you. And you're making that new connection. It's another reminder that we need Scentsy in our homes, right? So even though Scentsy may not necessarily be at the forefront of a lot of people's minds right now, when we're letting them know that we're fundraising for a cause, it's a reminder to let them know that they do need Scentsy in their home, right? Because who does not want their home to not smell good? So when we're letting them know, like, hey, we have a product and I'm going to show you the purpose for your product, whether it be laundry in your laundry room, or if you want your counters to smell good, or if you have stinky kids and you need all the things to help their bedrooms and the rooms smell better, those are the things that we want to talk about, because that's where we're going to meet a need, right? If you meet the need, you'll be successful. It's okay if someone hasn't heard of Scentsy before, because that to me, y'all, is like that gets me so excited when someone comes to me, and or if I'm talking to them and they're like, wait a minute, what's Scentsy? I've never heard of that before. Oh my gosh. I am like, hold the phone. You have not heard of Scentsy before, because trust me, there are people out there who have not heard of Scentsy. And that is the beauty of it, is that you get to talk about why you're passionate about it, because you're a consultant, right? So if you're a consultant, it must mean that there's something about Scentsy that you love and that's near and dear to your heart. And you get to let that person in on that. And that's even more special. How do you get a fundraiser, right? So going back, where do you start? Come up with a letter that breaks down a proposal of what they get. Okay. So you want to let them know, this is why I'm doing it, and this is what you're going to get from it, right? Because we are asking these individuals, right, that we're raising funds for, we're asking something from them. So they're going to want to know what's in it for them. So in a second, I will share my screen before we wrap things up. There are 3 documents that I have downloaded that I want to show you guys. All 3 documents are actually on your workstation. If you go to training and then type in the word fundraising, all of this is available on the workstation. So I'll show you all that in a little bit, because Scentsy actually does have a direct letter that you can print out and present to whomever it is that you're wanting to fundraise for. And it opens that window of communication to let them know like what the purpose is. I mean, it really helps too with like the verbiage, because sometimes if we're starting out with something new that we're not comfortable with, it's a little bit awkward, right? So for example, when you have X amount of people order, you will get X amount from me. So in other words, you as a consultant want to determine that. So when we have set amount, so you have to set the number, right? So you could say, what would be a good example? When we have, I don't know, 100 people place an order, I will donate this amount to you. And you have to fill that in. I can't fill that in for you. So you have to determine that. And if you're on Team Faith and Soul, we can definitely talk about that one-on-one if you're wanting to go into fundraising. But that's something you personally want to decide on your own, because this is your commission, it's your paycheck, and this is what you're wanting to determine, that you're going to donate to somebody. Success. It's important to remember that success will not happen overnight. Okay, be consistent and follow up. And what do I mean by that? So like you heard me say earlier, I just recently started dabbling not too long ago in the idea of fundraising. I will be the first to admit that I have been consistent with it. It's something that I plan on going into this next year. I plan on having little printouts that I'm going to put in all the happy mail and all of my customers' orders, because I want them to know, hey, I fundraise. I have stickers, by the way. Let's see if I can find them real quick. If it's going to take me a while, I probably won't look for them. I should have them like right in front of me. Oh yeah, here we go. So these I think are still available on the consultant store. These actually say, ask me about fundraising. I don't know. Oh yeah, y'all can see it's not backwards. So it actually says, ask me about fundraisers. So anytime I have like happy mail that gets sent out to my customers, I slap stickers on there all the time, because I want them to know that I fundraise. So that's just one small way that you can market yourself. But like I said, it's not going to happen overnight, because just as much as like when you first joined as a consultant, if you remember back to when you first joined, it probably did take a little bit of time for people to start trusting you, to know that you're consistent, and for them to be like, this is my Scentsy girl. I can count on her. I can place my order from her every time I need her, every time I need him, right? It's the same thing for fundraising. You have to build that momentum and gain that trust and build that relationship with that person. And then, as long as we're consistent, and that's something that I like, if you heard me say just a second ago, I'm not dabbling into fundraising on a bigger scale until next year, because I know that it's holiday season. I don't have the time for it. I don't want to put my focus on it. So therefore, if I know I'm not going to be consistent with it, I'm not going to pick it up until next year, until I know when I'm ready. But when you do decide to start doing this, make sure and be consistent and show up and let your people know that, hey, I'm fundraising. I want to do fundraisers. These are the fundraisers that I offer. As long as you're doing that, people are going to start noticing and take interest, and they're going to reach out. But it just takes consistency. Trust me, it's not going to be a matter of you posting one thing or you sending something in Happy Mail one time and then bam. Now, if you know somebody that's coming to you, that's different. If you have somebody that's approaching you about fundraising, that's different. Market within your orders. So just kind of like I was saying earlier. Oh, sorry. I'll give me 1 second. Oh, dang. Let's see. I think my battery's running low. Y'all hold tight. Let me text my husband and get him to bring my charger in. Because of course, if y'all didn't already know this, I was out of town. Sorry about that, y'all. And I was out of town this last week and I had my computer with me. And so all of my stuff is still packed away in my suitcase. So let me see if he can grab my charger for me. Let's see. Can you grab? Can y'all tell I can't multitask? What? It is on. Okay. So I thought I had it in here, but I definitely don't. So I think he's gonna bring it to me just a little bit. So hopefully my computer doesn't die. All right. So back to what I was saying. So market within your order. So just like I was saying earlier, just make sure that however you're promoting that you're fundraising, that you're doing it consistent. You could place a flyer in your orders, sharing that you do fundraisers, follow up, ask about your customers and be like, hey, by the way, did you see those extra little goodies I put in your order? And then you want to follow up with them, right? Because that's something that I've worked really hard this year and being more consistent. If I'm passing out samples, if I'm sending something in my Happy Mail, whatever the case may be that I'm marketing to somebody, if it's fundraising, for example, I want to make sure and ask them and be like, hey, did you see what I put in your bag? Because I'm not putting it in there just to waste time. Oh, thank you. Let's see. Oh, have a digital copy handy, by the way. That's something that I honestly never thought about. And I got that idea from another consultant for their training for fundraising. Thank you, sweetie. Is that one thing that I never thought about was that let's just say that you're dropping off your local orders to your customers and you're letting them know. Sorry, y'all, let me plug my computer in. If you're letting them know, hey, I put something extra in your bag, and they're like, oh, what is it? If you have a digital copy on your phone ready to go, you can just pull that sucker up real quick and be like, hey, it looks like this. It talks about fundraising. Let me know what you think. Don't forget, there is gold in the follow-up, right? You want to make sure and follow up with them. So give them about a week. Be like, hey, did you get a chance to see that flyer that I put in your Happy Mail? Because trust me when I say, like, I'm so bad about this. Like, if you're not following up with what you're putting in your customers' bags, there's no return on it. So you might as well just not put it in the bag if you're not going to follow up with them. Let's see. Can think about like what type of fundraiser are you doing. You can, if you're wanting to, you can have a QR catalog. So that is something that is available that you can do. A QR catalog, basically what that means is that you're creating, which I believe is already actually out there for us to use. So I do encourage you. One thing that I found useful is going to YouTube. Just like this video is going to be on YouTube about fundraising. Go to YouTube, click on or type in the word fundraising Cincy. There'll be a ton of options on there, but you can create a QR code that's going to take your customers, and when they scan it, like let's just say that it's just a one flyer situation that you want to do for fundraising, right? Create that QR code that's going to take those customers, those people that are wanting to help with the fundraising process. It's going to, they're going to scan it. It's going to take them to the digital catalog that's on your website. So that's an option that's going to cut costs big time. It's going to also take them to the party link, right, for the mill to shop from. Again, going back to look at YouTube for help. So many different options out there as far as fundraising. There's so many different fundraising styles, and YouTube to me personally is the place to go to because it's a lot more organized and easier to find suggestions and examples. Utilize your showcase brochure. I wish I had one on hand. I think I do not have a showcase brochure. But if you have not seen a showcase brochure before, it's basically a very flat version of the catalog. It's a 2-page situation. It's incredible to utilize. The reason why is because the showcase brochure, if you're fundraising like that, if you're wanting something tangible in their hands, which I recommend doing, the showcase brochure is important to do because it does not have the bundle and save options. And I know that sounds really weird hearing that, because any other time we're wanting to present the bundle and save right to our customers because we want them to save money. But in the case that we're wanting to raise funds, it's actually the opposite. Like, you don't want to say, I know it sounds weird saying that out loud. It sounds weird for me to say it, but you don't want to present the bundle and save, because you're basically helping them raise more money that way by not offering the bundle option, if that makes sense. Now, let's just say you do have somebody approach you and they're Cincy savvy and they're like, oh, wait a minute, I thought I could bundle in this. Well, then obviously at that point, you definitely want to honor the bundling option and then help them with that. But otherwise, if you're just sharing out the showcase brochure, they're not going to know about the bundling option. So that is going to be your best case for you to be able to raise the most funds for whatever organization that you're doing it for. Let's see. You definitely want to set a goal as far as how much you want to raise. That helps, right? Because when we set a goal, I feel like that it helps fix that mindset of not only setting the expectations for ourselves as Cincy consultants, but also for the organization. So whoever you're talking to about raising funds for, you want to let them know, like, hey, what, maybe they have an idea, maybe there's a need that they need, maybe there's a set amount of money that they need to fundraise for a particular event or a particular cause. That will also, help you determine on what you want to set your goal at. And let's see what else. Offer an additional link for them to shop for, but have main link for everyone. So what I mean by that is that you want to have one main shopping link for your fundraiser, right? But let's just say that you have Suzy Q that reaches out to you and they're like, hey, I want to put an order in. This is my order. And let's just say, for example, that it's 200 or more. That's where you definitely want to reach out and say, hey, you know what? Here's a shopping link for yourself. Go ahead and place the order. Don't worry. The commission's still going to be donated to so and so for the fundraiser. However, that is going to be so incredible for them to do, because that way you can actually reward them with the host rewards that they're going to earn off their order. So don't feel like you don't want to necessarily just stay with like just that one shopping link. You can have multiple ones. But if you're just starting out in the very beginning with fundraising, maybe just keeping to that one shopping link may be easier for you. But if you have somebody that does have a larger order, I do encourage you to open up a shopping link just for them, because here's the thing, you also never know if someone's going to want to join, and then you can also flip that over to them. So there's that option. Let's see. You definitely want to stay organized and have a way to track everyone's orders. That's also another sheet that I'm going to show you in just a little bit before we wrap up, as far as how you can stay organized. You can obviously, you could, if you wanted to, in theory, go to order history and then print it out from like the party. I'm a pen and paper kind of person for the most part, especially when it comes to tracking things. So that's something I'm going to show you in a little bit that you can easily just print out and then track as you go. As far as fundraising too, if you're wanting to do it for more than one person, let's just say you're doing it for like a sports team, it is 100% up to you. I know a lot of teams and a lot of different places that are raising funds. It varies. So for what I mean by that is sometimes when you're raising funds, it could be that you're raising funds for a whole team. Other times I know that individual players or individual students have to raise like their own funds. So that's something you want to take into consideration as well. And that's something that also, whoever's over the organization that you're helping out, that's a part of that conversation, right, that you want to have, because you want to establish all of this in the beginning. So that way you can make sure that all your ducks are lined up in a row. Let's see what else. You want to make sure and have the participant fill out their name and phone number. So if you're using the sheet that Cincy has available, or if you create your own, first and foremost, above anything else, just make sure and have that name and phone number attached that they're filling out, because that way, if you have any questions about their order, if you have any questions about how they're paying, anything of that matter, you have that way to be able to contact them. And also, definitely for future reference, because right there are possibly going to be future customers, long-term customers of yours. So for example, like I use Project Broadcast. So if you have a way that you're following up with your customers like Project Broadcast, then you can pop in their phone number and their name, even in your own address book on your phone, and just make sure and have it listed on there how you met them. So then that way, if you're contacting those customers in the future, right, you can say, hey, like for me, it'd be like, hey, it's Megan Clark with Cincy. I hope you're doing well. We met through such such fundraiser, and then whatever else you're saying after that. So because if you're like me, I have brain fog all the time. So a lot of times if I'm going back and I'm referencing customers that I may have met like a month or two back or more, it does help to have that information tagged to their name, because Lord knows I'm possibly may not remember where I met them. And it does help to bring a little bit more significance into the conversation and make it more personalized about where or how you met them. Let's see. It is important to have at least 10 order forms per packet, because you just don't know how many people are going to want to either like for one, have their own copy of what order they're wanting to place. It could be that they're wanting to process their order via card. That's another thing you definitely want to establish ahead of time, is what type of payment do you want to take? Right. You again have to do what's going to be easy, what's going to be comfortable for you. That's something that, again, you're an independent consultant, so it's important for you to establish that in the beginning and make sure that um, it is stated to those that you're raising money for them to know like what options they have for payment. Let's see. Please stress to whoever that you're raising funds for that you do need the contact information info for everyone that is placing orders. Again, in case you have questions for the follow-up. Let's see. We already covered that. We already covered that as well. Oh, another thing that's really important to do if you are fundraising for someone in particularly, I personally suggest is that starting your fundraiser at the beginning of the month and run it for 2 weeks. I personally wouldn't wait until the end of the month, because it may possibly be a little bit of work that you've got to put in to place those orders, especially if you're doing it as maybe like a local group order. You want to allot yourself enough time, a period for that last week of the month, to be able to, place your order, start distributing the orders out to your customers, or if they're wanting to pick up, again, however you establish how you want to do that. And also because, as most of y'all should know, our pay period ends at the end of the month. So that's also why you don't want this fundraising event to pass on and flow into the next month, because it just causes so much more stress. So as long as you set up your fundraiser for the first 2 weeks of the month, I feel like that personally that's perfect, because it's going to give you enough time towards the end to be able to get everything organized and wrap everything up. Plus, honestly, things like that should only take, no more than a week, 2 weeks tops. Consider the host rewards that you're earning from the fundraising. You consider using the host rewards for prizes. So for example, you can have it established that, let's just say you're raising funds for individuals. So you can have it set to where they have a goal. So let's just say that you say like, okay, for every student that raises 100 or more, however, whatever you want to, set the example as. So 100 or more receives a wax bar, right? Or you can say an incentive would be, or if you don't want to do necessarily say that, like if you raise so much funds, you can actually make it a little bit more personalized. So let's just say that you're, for example, and this is something I do encourage as well, is setting up a private group on social media. So on Facebook, for example, you can do that, and whoever chooses to join in the page, they can do so. That's a perfect place for those individuals that are participating to ask questions. So it's all in one place. That's also an area that you can post, like possibly like upcoming LTOs. You can have the shopping link available in there as well. I definitely encourage setting up prizes and getting those involved if you set up a private page. You could, for example, say, hey, if you add yourself to my VIP group, you earn a cent circle. So again, using those host rewards for a prize like that. Another example for prize incentives would be post on your personal page that you are helping with this said fundraiser for me, tag me for a cent circle, right? So that's a whole nother way of opening a window for gaining more sales, getting more interest in the fundraising that you're doing, for that individual to post on their personal page, and then just make sure that they tag you as well. And then you can also either gift in person with their order or mail it to them a cent circle as a thank you for helping you as well. And then last but not least, you could do an incentive prize for raise 500 PRV or more and receive $20 in free credit. So again, that's another option. And also, obviously, the 20 in free credit would come from the host rewards that you're earning from the amount that you're getting from the fundraiser. Let's see. I think that's pretty much about it. The last couple of things I do want to cover with y'all. Let's see, I'm going to share my screen before we end. Let's see. Okay, so the last 3 documents that I want to show you guys. The first one, and again, all 3 of these are located on your workstation under fundraising. So if you go to training and then you type in the keyword fundraising or fundraiser, all of this should come up for you to download, print out, look at. So the first thing I definitely want to show you guys is a great thorough walkthrough that Cincy has gifted to us as far as a beginner's guide to fundraising, which is really cool. It breaks down how to plan a fundraiser, figuring out the details, pretty much a lot of what we just covered on this training, but as you can see, it goes into a lot more depth. It talks about setting up a fundraiser to maximize donations, how you can do that. And a biggie here, make sure and pay attention to this, please, is making sure your fundraiser is Cincy compliant. That is very, very, very important. I cannot stress that enough. How to promote fundraisers, packaging orders, handling donations. Super, super useful information, very informative. The next thing I want to show you guys here is something that's super simple. I think that there's another option on our workstation, I want to say, but this is the one that I'm aware of that you can definitely print out if you don't want to already create your own. And it's a fundraising form. Super simple. As you can see here, you can print this out depending upon if you're doing it for one person or multiple people, multiple students, whoever you're fundraising for. For example, if it is for like a team or for a school class, this would be really important because obviously the participant would fill out their information here, and then anyone that they're talking to, whether it's friends, family, neighbors, etc., that wants to place an order, they would put their name and contact information here, and then in the blanks, this is actually where they would fill out how many of each fragrance that they want. And if you're looking at this, you're probably wondering, okay, well, I see the word fragrances, but what about the product? Here's the thing. Once again, you're an independent consultant. It is 100% up to you. And of course, I would encourage you to talk to the person you're raising funds for as far as what products you want to fundraise with. You can do a full catalog. That's personally something I suggest. But you can break it down even simpler to where you're doing like a cent circle fundraiser. I know a lot of individuals do cent circles, or I've seen cent packs as well. Just keep it simple. In other words, just keep it simple for yourself. Don't overcomplicate it. The last sheet I want to show you is by far pretty much the most important out of all 3 of these. This is also available on your workstation with Cincy. You can for sure print this out, and you definitely want to present it to the fundraising coordinator. So that means whoever's over who you're raising funds for, whether it be the school's principal, whether it be the coach of the team that you're raising funds for, whoever the case may be. You can even honestly, if you wanted to, print out more than one and have this ready to go for the individuals who are fundraising, but it lets them know a little bit more in depth of who we are with Cincy. Basically, that lets them know that we are able to fundraise with them. Excuse me. And then it breaks it down as far as to like what the supporters are receiving, as you can see here, and then what the organization receives in return. And it's almost like a little bit of a contract just to let them know. As you can see here, our CEOs have signed it, and it just lets them know that, you're a professional, that, you are here to help them out. Um, and it just helps with that, building that relationship with that trust. And then, as you can see here, you as a consultant for sure need to fill this out. You'll put the phone number and then your shopping link too. You want to put your name, that's your Cincy shopping link that you originally created when you first joined. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. Last and foremost, before we wrap this up tonight, the other thing I do encourage you to do, two things, is that if you're wanting to fundraise, let's just say you're wanting to fundraise, for example, for a school. So for a school or for a sports team, if there's a way that you can set up in person, whoever the case may be that you're fundraising for, if you can set up a little bit of our products. So in other words, kind of like how you would do for an event, right? So you would have like a little bit of each thing from the catalog to give an idea to somebody. Let's just say, I mean, in my opinion, I would go in it and say, like, okay, have the assumption that whoever you're presenting to has no idea what Cincy is. All right. So whether they do or do not, go in with the assumption that they don't. So what does that mean? That means that you want to set up the basics, right? You want to walk them through a little bit of what the catalog provides, what we provide as a service to them. And that way they can physically see, touch, smell all the things, to where they can not only see like who Cincy is, what we represent, but it also gives them an idea of maybe perhaps what they want to use in their fundraiser. If they don't want to do a full catalog, they can actually pick and choose what it is that they're wanting to, products to have available to fundraise with. So there's that. Also, if you're not doing it in person, that a private group that you're setting up via Facebook or wherever the case may be that you're doing it on for social media, that is also somewhere that you can go live, just like I'm doing right now. You can have your Cincy product in hand. You can talk about what it is. You can pre-record it ahead of time. Or in my personal opinion, I would go live in the group. So then that way, again, whoever's in that group can ask questions and then interact. So that's good to have as well. That's pretty much my 2 cents on fundraising. I hope you guys learned a little something tonight. I do have a good friend of mine, by the way, that I am meeting up with later this month. She has actually done fundraising on a larger scale. So as far as like school sports events are concerned, I'm actually going to be hanging out with her and her team. And that's their training this month, which is perfect timing, is fundraising. And so if you're with Team Faith and Soul, I do plan on meeting up with her and taking all the notes. And I will be coming back, if not the end of this month, then next month, on just solely the Team Faith and Souls group. And then we'll talk a little bit more in detail about how to fundraise on a larger scale, because that is definitely not my area expertise, as y'all heard at the beginning of this training. That's something I plan on diving into this next year. So I'm very excited to learn all the things from somebody that has been there, done that. So stay tuned for that. So I'm so excited. But thank you guys so much for catching the replay. Thanks, Barbara, for joining the live. I'm so excited. Hopefully, you guys are excited to learn a little bit more about fundraising, and maybe you're going to dabble a little bit into that. But I hope you guys have a great night, and I will talk to y'all later.